Mm-hmm.
Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock.
1 minute according to mine. Calculation.
Okay, we'll go ahead and call this meeting in order. You have the roll call, please.
Mr. Doddenbaugh,
Here.
Ms. Fisher,
Here.
Mr. Vaughn,
Here.
Mr. Whitmore,
Here.
Councilman Hellinger,
Here.
Vice Chairman Junk,
Here.
Chairman Dick.
Here. Okay, can you take a motion for the approval of the motion summary? The meeting held on March 13th, 2009 is recorded and transcribed.
So moved. Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Doddenbaugh,
Aye.
Ms. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Vaughn,
Yes.
Mr. Whitmore,
Yes.
Councilman Hellinger,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Junk,
Yes.
Chairman Dick.
Yes. Okay. For the regular business, we have 2019-0-0411, a request by Manos Properties for the approval of a parking setback variance for the Wesleyan Inn at 235 West William Street on approximately .72 acres in zone POI, Planned Office Institutional. Anybody that is present in the gallery, if you plan on speaking tonight, would you please come up to the podium here in the front so that you can be sworn in, if there's anybody here to speak.
Are you going to explain what this is exactly, this variance?
Yes, it'll all be explained out. And, you know, if there's any concerns, you think you might have any questions or anything, we can go ahead and swear you now, or if you want to think you're going to come up, you don't think so now?
I don't know, I need to hear it first.
Okay. Okay. If you would, please raise your right hand. Do you swear that what you're about to say is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Would you please state your name and your address into the microphone?
Jim Manos, 5973 McEwen Court, Dublin, Ohio.
Chris Tebby, 5792 Gaelic Court, Dublin, Ohio.
All right, staff.
Yeah, I'll give a quick presentation. The property on West William Street, it's zoned PIO, Planned Office Institutional. To give you some background on this, in November 2018, Planning Commission and City Council approved a conditional use permit and preliminary development plan to allow the subject 43 room inn at this location. Last Wednesday, the Planning Commission on April 3rd approved a final development plan to allow the construction of this, the proposal. The one condition is they had to get a parking setback variance on the west side and on the east side. That's why we're here tonight to review that request. Council had first reading on this on Monday, and a second and third reading would be later this month on this case.
Okay.
This is the aerial of the site. There's an existing 3-story building, that location that the owner is proposing to expand and renovate and convert into a 43 space inn, 7 suites, 43 room inn, and there'll be 43 parking spaces also at this location. The setback variance for a use in the Planned Office Institutional District is 10 feet from a residentially zoned property, which is on the western portion. The property to the west here is zoned, right here is zoned R3. It is owned by the developer. He purchased that And his plan is to remove the house and to create a landscape buffer, park area and a buffer. This is the existing building and the expansion of the building. This parcel here to the west, he's gonna raise the house, put some buffering in, make it a park-like setting, and also put a 6-foot-high fence adjacent to the house further to the west, and also a 6-foot-high fence on the southeastern portion of the property. That is not required by code. The owner volunteered to do that. So this 10-foot setback requirement on the western portion of the site, he's extending the parking lot about 9 feet into that. And on this drawing in the yellow, you can see identifies where the parking spots, how far the pavement's going into the setback. Also on the eastern portion of the site, there's a small protrusion into the setback in this area, and to the east is zone PIO in this area. The setback's 5 feet, and that's adjacent to High Wesleyan University. And the parcel next to the parking lot, then it's also, there's a vacant building next to that also. So from a variance perspective, there's 12 practical difficulties that a variance needs to be reviewed by. Most of them, this proposal would meet. The first one is whether the granted of variance would be in accord with the general purpose and intent of the code. Typically, it would not be, but again, he bought the parcel to the west, so it's really a variance against himself on the western portion. And on the eastern portion, it's adjacent to the High Wesleyan Inn, so it would have minimal impact on the adjacent neighbor. Also, would the character of the neighborhood change? The first proposal he had, this is the proposed elevation of the building that got approved by Planning Commission last week. The initial submission back in November, the council approved was a 4-story building. He reduced it in height to 3-story, which shrunk the square footage by about 3,000 square feet to about 14,000 square feet total. So it's more in character with the neighborhood from a size perspective, and it's going to be, he's renovating the front portion, and there's going to be, the remainder of the building will be comprised of brick and windows and stone. It'll have a stone wainscoting, so it would be a nice addition to the building. So therefore, staff believes it would not change the neighborhood, the character of the neighborhood, and actually, because the building is being renovated, it's been vacant for several years, it's an upgrade to the neighborhood. Therefore, staff recommends approval with 3 conditions. The first condition is that because of the setback to the west, because the owner owns a setback to the west, it's a setback against himself. Plus, he's also going to create a park-like setting in that parcel that he owns, and there would be a 6-foot-high fence adjacent to the western property line of that parcel. The property line to the east is only 5-foot setback, and it's adjacent to the university, so that would have minimal impact on the university. Therefore, for those 2 reasons, and the other ones that I described, staff supports the recommendation of the variance. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Anyone have any questions, board? Anybody have any questions from side? No questions? Everybody seem to be in favor of it?
Are you going to take comments? Because I don't know.
If you'd come up to the podium, or up to the front, please. Please raise your right hand. You swear you're about to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Would you please state your name and address?
Cheryl Hutchinson. I live at 256 West William Street. And I want to object to the idea that he's only looking for a variance against himself, because that house this hotel, we have come out for months. The residents in the area don't want it. I guess that doesn't matter, but we don't want it, okay? We don't want a 3- or 4-story hotel across from us. This is a house. It was people's house. Why is it being turned into a giant hotel? It's like putting a Walmart where somebody used to live. So the answer that we have, and I'm sure people are tired of coming to these meetings, is we don't want a variance. We don't want him any further encroachment into our neighborhood. It's going to violate our privacy, and I don't know why it doesn't matter that we came out for months and said we don't want this. Why can't it be turned into a bed and breakfast or something reasonable for this space? I mean, if somebody wants to put a Walmart on somebody's old property in a residential area, is the city council gonna say, yes, that's fine, even if everybody in the neighborhood doesn't want it? So if you go forward with it, fine, but I wanna be on record. And also, when we talked to city council before, some of them keep saying, there's nothing we can do about this. There's nothing we can do about the funeral home they're thinking about knocking down. There's nothing we can do. I don't wanna hear there's nothing we can do. If there really is nothing city council can do to save the historical buildings in the town, then I think it's a bigger issue, and the city council needs to empower itself so that it can. Because people want historical buildings. They're in huge demand now, and once they're gone forever. So it's bigger than just this hotel. It's what does this city want to be? Does everything want to be knocked down and become banks and gas stations, or do we really want to preserve the history and the residential neighborhoods? And that's what I want you to think about.
Okay. Yep. Staff, any comment from that as far as what she said?
As I indicated back in November, the city council approved this use at this location. So tonight's discussion is not about the use of the property, it's the setback variance for the parking lot.
But
Okay.
it factors into whether or not that should be allowed, I think.
Yes, sir. You swear what you're about to say is true and the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Absolutely.
All right. Please state your name and address.
My name is, excuse me, is Tom Tobin. I live at 253 West William Street. I am the third property to the west of the proposed hotel site. I would like to second what Cheryl has said, is that from the beginning, we have been against the hotel. I realize that's not what we're talking about right now. It's a POI. You guys have agreed that he can do this on this property. We did come to city council and we fought against turning the property directly to the west into a parking lot. And turning that into commercially zoned. We were successful in that. So he came up with a plan that fit within the requirements of the property that he owned, with everything set the way it is. So the fact that he owns the property to the west makes it very simple. Well, I'm the neighbor, right? So if I want to push up against the property line, I'm okay with that. So it was a strategic move to own the property. He's also, I don't know if he's still in contract to buy the property adjacent to that to the west. So my question is how many more variances is he going to ask for down the road? Maybe not today, but down the road. Is the next variance going to push in that, you know, maybe I need some employee parking or a shed or something like that, or I'm going to change this next one. You talked about the criteria. Does this change the neighborhood or the way that it's set? And the hotel itself changes the aesthetic of the neighborhood. Whether he's trying to restore the front of the Perkins house or not, that's beside the point. This, to this point, has all been residential. From the university on, it's been residential. He's trying to change it so that things start to become more commercial. If he owns those next two properties, he'll probably revisit at some time trying to get those rezoned commercial. It's just going to take little bites and chewing this off. Is it going to affect our property values? You say that, well, if he restores that Perkins house, of course it's going to look better in the neighborhood. No, we're going to have a stinking 3 to 4 story hotel, depending on which plan he goes with, in our backyards. That does not, in any way, shape, or form, improve our neighborhood in any way. Okay, that it doesn't help us at all. We talk about the safety of the neighborhood. Is it going to be good for us? You know, so now he's going to be setting this fence, which he was going to have on the property line closer, is now going to be pushed further away. So you're going to have more light reflection. You're going to have things like that that are going to be happening of cars that were going to be doing parallel parking in an earlier proposed plan to now doing head-in parking facing all the properties to the west. That is also a problem. I also would like to mention that the homeowner adjacent to me on the west side has been trying to build a garage to improve his property. And this city has says, no, we can't allow this garage. This garage is a little too big. Oh, it's a little too close to the property line. But yet we're going to bend over backwards in the city of Delaware to help Mr. Manos put a hotel and parking in a place where nobody in the neighborhood except for Mr. Manos wants this, period. The community doesn't want it. Maybe the city thinks they're going to get tax dollars out of this. I'm not sure. But for the reasons that it's not going to improve the neighborhood, it's going to hurt our property values, I guarantee it. And it is going to affect the safety of the residents. I would respectfully ask you to decline this. I'm also concerned, like I said earlier, well, what's the next variance going to be? What's the next thing he's going to ask for? He came up with a plan before that fit within the guidelines that you guys have set down, that all us homeowners, if we want to build something, have to agree to. We'd expect that you will hold up the rules that you have in place and say that, and turn down this variance. Do not recommend this variance.
Thanks, you, sir. I guess I have a question. If this variance isn't approved, how does that affect anything going forward from here?
Well, for this site plan, he'd have to get the variance that he submitted. He probably has some other options to explore if the variance wasn't approved. That could potentially alleviate the need for a variance.
Okay.
Real quick question. Has Ohio Wesleyan made any comment at all about
No,
nothing publicly?
nothing.
Yes,
was-
no?
It
No,
was in their alumni magazine.
Well, can you speak to the comments then?
No. It was positive.
Okay, you say it was positive, I see somebody says no, it wasn't, so.
Pardon me?
I called them, and they told me they were not happy with this.
You can call Rock Jones. He's okay with it.
They said it was supposed to be a bed and breakfast.
No, it was never. to
We're
be
gonna
a
have to have her come into the
Sworn in.
record.
Oh, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
That's okay.
You want her to come
It's-
repeat?
if
Do you
have
want
a
to come up and
comment, we'll
repeat?
have-
Because it's hard for them to get that on tape and record it if you're so far back.
I apologize.
I think the point is it depends on.
No. Up here.
You still have to come up.
It's not that we're trying to be inconvenient, it's just trying to get it on record. Because it's all taped now. And
Gentlemen, I interrupted you. Do you have something?
Oh,
to
yes.
add?
Well, first off, if I tore the building down, I wouldn't have to have a variance because I could move the building over 9 feet. I don't want to tear the building down. I want to leave it. It was zoned for this zoning. We changed the use. I can't have parallel parking. I just don't have enough spots. And then with the fire trucks, there's 39, go ahead.
There's 39.83 feet from the property line to the corner of the existing building that we want to keep. In order to meet the fire department's request for the width of the aisle, that's what pushes the parking spaces over. If it wasn't for the fire department wanting the wider aisle to get through there, then we could push it back. Okay. So the whole reason behind the variance is to meet the city's need, to be able to go around there. Yeah, we could tear it down, but we really don't want to tear down Professor Perkins' house. I mean, so.
Will you continue to have the crash through
Yeah.
area there in the back so they can come in from the back side
Yeah,
of?
that's where the little checkered,
Yeah,
Yeah, that-
okay.
That's a requirement of the
Yeah,
final
that's-
development plan approval, not this approval, but the final development. plan
Right.
approval.
Yeah,
Okay.
right now, right now, if they were to catch fire, they can only access it from Ohio Wesleyan. This, they'll be able to go from William Street, go all the way around, and also through Ohio Wesleyan.
Gotcha. Thank you.
respectfully, I'm not encroaching on my property, but I'm going in 9 feet, I guess, from, it's a 1-foot setback instead of 10.
And maybe was there something in there about a privacy fence?
Yeah, there,
Wasn't there, for if they pull in headways or head first?
yeah, there is.
Face.
Our code requires, anytime you're adjacent, you got parking lots adjacent to a roadway, and in this case, a potential
Yeah.
vacant lot, we require 3-foot high shrubs in this area. And also, he's installing a fence along the western property boundary of the parcel that he owns.
And I
So,
am in
for
contract
additional
with the
buffer.
next house.
Our code doesn't require that, he's installing that.
A few other things, Matt, I am in contract with the house west of that, and if you notice, there's a step up. The elevation's probably 3 feet higher on the park, if you will.
I think we need to keep this in context, and I hear your concerns, but we're not here to vote on the merits of the project. We're here to vote on whether someone can park 9 feet closer to the next property line, and still heading in. And so I do understand your concerns, and certainly I know you voiced those to City Council, and I'm sure you will continue to do that. But our role here today is to look at that 10 foot versus 1 foot variance, not whether the aesthetics or the safety or the whatever. And I apologize, that's just not our role, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Lance.
That's correct.
So, if you can come back up.
Come up, please.
And I hope you don't, that doesn't sound like a cop-out. I just
Thanks.
want to make sure we're clear on
I
what we're
agree
going to have to
with
do. Or not do.
Well, that is a little bit of a cop-out. I do understand what you're saying, but the reality of it is that you are to decide whether this variance is good for everybody involved, not just Mr. Manos.
Absolutely.
Okay, and so far, this is only going to be good for Mr. Manos. It's going to help him save money. He could put underground parking if he wants to do this, get all the spots he needs, get all the wide aisle he needs, but that'll cost more. And as a businessman, I can see why he doesn't want to do that. So he wants City Council, or I'm sorry, the zoning commission here, to say, hey, we're gonna let you save money, do what you want, because you own the properties. And so he's just buying them up side by side. And from the merit of doing this, once again, I would respectfully ask that you decline it, because it only benefits him, his pocketbook, and this project. There's no other reason to grant it, period, because he can do what he needs to do without it. It's just going to cost more. And if he truly wants the hotel, he can still make it happen. And you turning down this variance isn't gonna stop him from doing what he wants to do. I like the Perkins home too, but if he wants to tear it down, that's his choice. He can do that. So saying that, hey, if I tear down the house, I can get all the land I want, it's fine. Do it. He's a businessman. He can make that choice. We live in this community. He doesn't live in this community. He invests his money in this community to make money. We live here. So once again, think about the community, not about the business. Thank you.
Thank you.
I respectfully pay a lot of Delaware County tax. I do live in Delaware County. My tax. You can check my tax bill.
Okay. Any other questions from, any other comments? Anybody in the gallery wants to add? Okay. Well then,
Comment.
yes.
I'm sorry. I do have one concern about the over reliance on the fact that he owns the adjacent property. We have to make sure that this variance makes sense regardless of that ownership, I think. Because eventually someone could theoretically buy that property again. So I'd asked Lance about the zoning setback on residential, if that property should change hands. I just want everybody to kind of hear what he told me since I had that information, but.
If he's gonna raise the building, as he says he is,
Yeah,
we're gonna demolish the building,
I bought the property for 145 and I'm tearing it down just to have the vacant lot.
he's gonna have a vacant lot, so if there's no structure there, there's no setback variance for that structure or whoever, whatever. He sells it back to the homeowner or back to somebody and they build a house again, that building would have to meet, the new structure would have to meet the minimum building setbacks, which in that district, I believe is 7 feet or something, the side yard setback.
Could we include that parcel into his main parcel and just have one parcel number so that it all becomes one?
Right.
Then it
No,
would
that
be
could,
POI.
that could.
We'd love to.
Then it would be
Well,
POI.
well,
Sorry, I was just curious.
him removing that parcel line could alleviate the need for a variance.
Right.
That's
We
what we
tried.
thought
Yeah.
before.
Well, what happened before,
It has nothing.
several months ago, before council approved the conditional use, he came in for a rezoning for these 2 parcels. And he had as much buffer, he actually has more now than he did then. That was denied at council. They said, reduce the plan. We don't want any parking on that parcel. So he came in with the plan that you see. Council approved that in November.
No, the plan that they approved was not the plan that you see now. It's the plan that had parallel parking. That was not all the way up to the property line.
The November plan?
Yes.
Okay. The planning, but they approved the use. And that was a preliminary plan.
Was not this.
In the preliminary plan, last Wednesday, they approved the final development plan. That is this, that would require a variance.
Okay.
We're here for the variance.
I'm just saying that the reliance on the fact that he owns the property is a little heavy, but
Well-
I like the fact that there's the buffer and the landscaping and so forth.
Right.
That,
I mean, to be honest with you, I've been doing
protect
this
that.
25 years. We've had a lot of people who build next to people. I've never had a developer buy parcels just for setbacks. And then I've been working in a lot of different jurisdictions. This is very unique in my mind.
Oh, I understand.
No other comments, questions? Then we'll take a motion to either approve or deny 2019-0411. I suppose we could table it, huh? I'm just joking.
Make a decision.
I'll make a motion to approve case number 2019-0411, finding below the reasons without, beyond a reasonable doubt that the decision factor necessary for approval of a variance according to Chapter 1128 of the Planning and Zoning codes are met, including the stipulations that the planning, the recommendations of the board, I mean the planning department.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please. Any further discussion or comments? Okay, roll call.
Mr. Dallenbaugh?
Aye.
Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Vaughn?
Yes.
Mr. Whitmore?
Yes.
Councilman Hellinger?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Junk?
Yes.
Chairman Dick?
No.
Variance is approved.
Okay. We have any other business or board member comments or any other discussion? Okay.
Do we have anything planned for next month?
Nothing has come in yet, but I've been told there may be a case coming forward. So you'll probably know more next week, I'm guessing.
Which would be May 8th.
May 8th.
Okay. Being no other business, I'd take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Dallenbaugh?
Aye.
Ms. Fisher?
Aye.
Mr.
Yes.
Vaughn?
Yes.
Mr. Whitmore?
Yes.
Councilman Hellinger?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Junk?
Yes.
Chairman Dick?
Yes.